Hello, everybody. It's Shakespeare Sunday, and it's time for just a little bit of King Lear with me, Duncan Morris. I've just realised something I haven't done. Look, I did all my stuff and I haven't sorted out my camera properly. Let's try and make my camera just look a little bit better, shall we? Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Done. There we go. Now you can see me a bit more clearly. And look, what you really want is to see this face a bit more clearly, right? Right? Okay, right. It is Shakespeare Sunday. If you don't know what this is about, where have you been for the last 3 months, 4 months nearly? What we are doing is we have been reading one of these books every single week for the last, 16 weeks. Well, this is the 16th week. There being 16 books here. That's how maths works. And we're finishing on, the one that I know the best, my favourite, King Lear. Now, there's already a bunch of people commenting over on YouTube. So, but before I go to that, let me just make sure we're up and live on Facebook, because I can't miss these things out. You see, I have a habit of missing the Facebook people and not saying hello to them because I'm a bad man. You can't see the top of my head, Facebook. Not that you probably want to. Who cares about the top of my head, right? But let's get this going. It's the last ever Shakespeare Sunday, it says over on the thing, and there's no comments anyway, so I don't know why I cared. Now, here we go. Your comments, a bunch of them, a million of them. First off, it says, the first off is just a hi. It's just a hi from Celia Wells Tilling. Now, let me just tell you who Celia is. Celia is responsible for me being me. It's as simple as that. Genuinely moved to see Celia watching this. So it says Cecilia. So I don't know. She was always Celia now, but she seems to be Cecilia now. Cecilia, tell me which one you prefer. Basically, when I was about 8 years old and just looking for something to do, didn't have much to do with my life, but I was a bit of a show-off. I discovered a thing called Discovery Drama Workshop, which Celia ran. And then that became Imagination Theatre School. And from there, I went on to do everything that I've done ever since. And I would not be doing it if it wasn't for Celia. So all of the performing, everything that I've done, all started with Celia. So can you all please, since she's here, all say hello to Celia or Cecilia in the comments. Just say a big hello to her. Say, or tell her off if you think that maybe she shouldn't have been encouraging me to be so loud. And also anybody that's in Folkestone, or might I say moving to Folkestone. No. Think about joining Imagination. It's still running. I think it's up in Hawkinge now. But Celia, this is you. You can advertise Imagination as much as you want in the comments. You go nuts. Esme, she said hi. She's barely missed a single one. Megan, likewise. Chris is here. Chris, excellent. Thank you. He's sitting comfortably, ready and waiting. Thank you very much. Then we'll begin. Esme, hello. Oh, look. Helen's already said hello to you, Cecilia, and has said hello to Esme and to Megan. Esme, she's already retracted a comment. Chris has said hi all. Megan says, hola, Granny, Grandpa, Duncan. Third on that list there, I noticed. Tamsin, Esme, Noah, Maddie, Lozzie, and everyone else who's here. Evelyn plays Roblox. Now, I'm presuming that's an Evelyn that I know because I teach her someone else. Hello, Evelyn. Hello. Duncan says, Tamsin, she's not missed a minute of one of these, I don't think. Yahoo, Tim Lear. King Lear. I'm so excited about doing King Lear. It's just my favourite. I just love it the most. Lots of people just... Owen, where are you? You're always commenting, is this King Lear? You're right, Megan. And not only that, I told him. Now, Katie, she's watching over on Facebook. She has just said, my kingdom for an horse. Now, that was Richard III. We did that a couple of weeks ago. But King Lear, all that. Thank you for the lovely comments. You're a superstar. Celia, I'd be nothing without you. So I mean that so 100%. You know, I don't know if you've seen that footage of Ian Wright going and seeing an old football teacher that you had. That's me and Celia, absolutely 100%. Except Ian Wright went on to play for England. I haven't played for England yet. Still yet. I love King Lear. It's one of the few plays. It was probably when I was sort of beginning to get old enough to really get into Shakespeare and understand it. Not that I think it was probably the last one I read, to be honest. We did this when I was in sixth form, or maybe it wasn't sixth form actually. It might have been the fifth year. And I remember getting carried away while we were rehearsing. We were just sort of going through it, and me doing this whole thing. We're in blow winds and crack your cheeks, rage blow. Anyway, the whole school turned around and thought I was foolish. True story. Now, a few things. Firstly, in the comments, please feel free. Oh, hold on. That says top chat rather than live chat. Let's make sure I put it on live chat so I can see everybody's comments. Yeah, where is Owen? Shocking, isn't it? Shocking behaviour. Firstly, this is the last King Lear. Then I'm going to take a couple of weeks off and we're going to come back with What the Dickens? What the Dickens? Now, these stories are a bit longer, so it might be that What the Dickens will replace this and Story and Joke Time. But Story and Joke Time is going to keep going for at least a few weeks yet. Toddler Tune Time's going nowhere. Shepway Primary Singers is going nowhere. Still got Headstrong Singers. Still got Martello Centre sessions. So it's not like I'm going to be taking loads of time off. I ain't. Although I am having a whole week off later in the month. So what we do. First off, I want you to please tell me which of these books is your favourite? What have we done so far? We have done Macbeth, Tempest, Twelfth Night, Midsummer Night's Dream. Did that with Celia. Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet. Did I? No, I didn't do that with Celia. I thought I did for a moment. Taming of the Shrew, Julius Caesar. When I was reading Julius Caesar at school, we were doing Midsummer Night's Dream with Celia, and I played Puck, and I then went and ignored all my school lessons and got a good mark for Midsummer Night's Dream instead. True story, I think I told you that at the time. Antony and Cleopatra, As You Like It, Merchant of Venice, Much Ado About Nothing, Othello, Richard III, and Henry V. I know what my favourite one is. I know what my least favourite is. So you get up in the comments. Tell me what your favourite of those has been and what your least favourite of those has been. By the way, I'm one of the cool kids, just in case you were wondering. Got to be Taming of the Shrew, says Jessica. She's trolling me. She doesn't mean it. Trolling of the Shrew, it should be called, where I'm the Shrew. So, other things. So, two things that you can do. One, say your favourite and least favourite, if you will, of the Shakespeare stories we've read so far. Two, accents. We need some accents. So, last week, I said I was going to do Australian and then forgot to add it. Now, hold on. Let me just do something that means that we're more likely to be able to keep streaming without it interrupting. So, there we go. Merchant of Venice. I really liked The Merchant of Venice, Helen. I think it was very good. So, I think my favourite might have been Othello, actually, but I'm not sure. Wow, loads. Now, I really remember this play. So this is one of the few ones we've done. There's this, Midsummer Night's Dream and Romeo and Juliet, that I knew very, very well. Imagination is a little group these days at Churchill School on Monday evening. So there you go. Infants at 5:35, seniors at 6:30 to 7:35. Sometimes we all join together. Lots of fun. Just go onto the Imagination Theatre School group on Facebook. Yes, do that, absolutely. Particularly if there are any youngsters watching. Although, as it says, seniors, so older people as well. You're a brilliant Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream, Duncan. Do you know what, Celia? I don't agree looking back on it, but you're very kind. But I was very young. I was 15 years old. I was very skinny, very skinny. I enjoyed climbing around what is now a Wetherspoons, though. So, our options. King Lear. Well, he's going to talk like that. There we go. Favourite, Midsummer Night's Dream, because of all the lovely accents. Or, yes, that was fun. Least favourite, Macbeth. Everybody dies. Just like, die. It is. It's very much like that. By the way, if you don't like lots of death, may I introduce you to the book of King Lear, which you're not going to enjoy. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, we'll get onto that in a minute. So our options. King Lear. So who's just going to speak like that? Cordelia. She's a good one. So she's going to speak just beautifully. And now we've got Goneril and Regan. They are the sisters. So we've got King Lear is the king, obviously, hence the name. Lear's daughter is Cordelia. And then he has two other daughters, Goneril and Regan. So Goneril is Lear's daughter and the wife of the Duke of Albany. And Regan is Lear's daughter and the wife of the Duke of Cornwall. We've also got the Earl of Gloucester, Edgar. The Earl of Gloucester is Lear's oldest friend and ally. Gloucester, Edgar, which is Gloucester's heir. Edmund, which is Gloucester's illegitimate son. And the Earl of Kent, who is Lear's faithful servant. So, we've got Welsh in there. Like you are royalty. Oh, you had better believe the King Lear will be very proper. He'll be ever so proper. In fact, I think he and his daughters will be like this. But I feel like Cordelia will be a bit higher here, and Goneril and Regan will be down here. Now, the Earl of Gloucester, he's from Gloucester, isn't he? Now, that's quite close to Wales, so he could be Welsh. Hold on, what's Welsh? Boyo. Oh, no, I don't know how I can do that. Okay, so I will. Earl of Kent, proper Folkestone accent. Hello. Hello. Right, okay, proper Folkestone accent. All right, got that. All right, yeah, hello. Edgar and Edmund they're all from Gloucester, so, Well, do you know what? You've asked for Welsh, and it's going to be tricky, because I can't really do Welsh. I will try, every time I go to do Welsh, I end up doing West Country. Right. How do you do Welsh? Right. No, Gavin and Stacey. Okay, Gav. Rob Brydon. I could do Rob Brydon. Yes. Hello, I'm Rob Brydon. There we go. Okay, that's the Earl of Gloucester. He's Rob Brydon. I can do that one. Okay, it's very loud. I'll have to turn it down a bit. There we go. Okay. So we've got all the accents. There we go. And Edgar and Gloucester, Edgar and Edmund, they can both be West Country, all right? I'm not going to keep that Welsh up for any more than that. Lozzie is here. Hello, Lozzie. Challenge your inner Nessa. Oh, Gav. But that's all I can say is just Gav. So, here we go. The scene is ancient Britain. Do you know what? I was going to look into this because I couldn't remember if this was based on what they think might... If it's like, it's not a history, obviously, but if it has some vague hook in history, and I forgot. So if anyone wants to do that Googling. By the way, Lozzie, people are also, while we've suggested all of our accents, we've got them. There's also the Fool, but he's going to be, Poor Tom's a cold. That's going to be the Fool. Lozzie, we're also saying our favourite and least favourite books so far that we've done. So, here we go. This is a line from King Lear in the Act 1, Scene 1. It says, Better thou hadst not been born than not to have pleased me better. It's rude, isn't it? And you wait till you find out why he says that. I love this book. Here we go. Oh, by the way, I'm loving Megan has put Lozzie Maddie Noah as one word, and it makes me happy. So, here we go. King Lear. In his youth, Lear had won the crown of Britain through his strength, courage, and cunning. And he enjoyed ruling the country, but now he was old. His eyes were dull, his hair white, and his face wrinkled. The aged king addressed the nobles he had summoned to his throne room. I intend to give up the crown before the strain of ruling becomes too much, he said. Britain will be divided into 3, to be ruled by my daughters. The richest part will be given to the one who loves me the most. Goneril, my eldest child, wife of Albany, how much do you love me? It's not a good way of saying these things, but let's find out. Here we go. Goneril had red hair and a haughty expression. I love you more than words can say, she declared. More than my own life. I nearly said wife. More than my own life. And what does my second daughter, Regan, wife of Cornwall, say? He demanded. Regan's golden curls and simpering smile masked her greed and slyness. My love is greater than Goneril's, she claimed. My only true pleasure is your happiness. I'm not feeling that they're particularly sincere here, but let's find out. Lear nodded and spoke to his youngest daughter, Cordelia. She was being wooed at the time by the King of France, who was present. Now, dearest daughter, Lear said affectionately, what have you to tell me? Cordelia's black hair and dark gown emphasized the paleness of her face. She struggled to speak, then blurted out, Nothing, my lord. Lear frowned. Nothing? He snapped. If you say nothing, you'll get nothing. Speak again. I'm not like my sisters, Cordelia cried. I can't flatter you with empty words. I love you as much as a daughter ought to love her father. No more, no less. That's the truth. I feel like she's been the only one being honest here. Still, Lear seems like a reasonable chap. I think he'll probably react to this quite well. Let's find out. Lear's face flushed dark with fury. Well, let's put an end to that theory. Then let the truth be your only dowry, for you'll get nothing from me, he hissed. Goneril and Regan can share your third of the kingdom. Leave my court and my heart. You are no daughter of mine. Cordelia lowered her head and wept silently. My power now passes to my two remaining daughters, Lear went on. I shall keep the title of king and a company of 100 knights. We will spend alternate months with Goneril and Regan. A stocky, grey-haired man stepped forwards. He was the Earl of Kent, Lear's most trusted and loyal servant. My lord, have you gone mad? He spluttered. Anyone can see how much Cordelia loves you. You are making a foolish mistake. Rage brought Lear to his feet. His hand trembled as he pointed at Kent. I banish you, he screeched. You have 5 days to make yourself ready. After that, if you are found anywhere in my kingdom, you will be executed. Kent left without saying another word. Lear spoke to the King of France. Since my daughter has no dowry, I will understand if you wish to withdraw your marriage offer, he said. The French king's gaze was fixed on Cordelia. Cordelia's honesty makes me love her even more, he announced. I would be honoured to marry her. Then take her with my... Oh, hold on, that should have been French, shouldn't it? Let's go back, we'll do that again. The French king's gaze was fixed on Cordelia. Cordelia's honesty makes me love her even more, he announced. I would be honoured to marry her. Yes, I would. Then take her with my curse upon her, growled Lear. I wish she had never been born. He's a grumpy one, isn't he? I ate almonds before doing this. I've done that before. Don't eat crumbly nuts before you read. Okay. The old king swept out of the throne room and the nobles followed him, but Goneril and Regan lingered, whispering together in a shadowy corner. I've got to remember which one I did for which now. Hold on. 1 second. Whoever was first had a much deeper voice. We had Goneril went first. So, and even though he has given up the crown, he banished Kent. Oh no, look, I'm looking at the wrong one. It's Regan first. The old man is losing his wits, murmured Regan. He always loved Cordelia best, and now he has left her penniless. And even though he has given up the crown, he banished Kent. Goneril pointed out. I fear he is going to interfere with every decision we make. Our lives will be a misery. Then we must do something to stop him, said Regan. When the Earl of Gloucester returned to his castle, the scene he had witnessed in Lear's throne room still burned in his mind. Gloucester. He was Welsh, wasn't he? He was like that! My old friend Kent banished! He muttered to himself. I can't do it quietly, unfortunately. Lear, giving up his throne? What is the world coming to? Gloucester was so deep in thought that he almost collided with Edmund, his illegitimate son. For years, Edmund had lived secretly abroad, and as far as the nobles at court knew, Gloucester's only child and heir was his son, Edgar. The recent death of his wife had made the Earl realise how old he was getting. and he had sent for Edmund, hoping that they would get to know each other a little better. Edmund seemed startled when his father appeared, and stuffed a sheet of paper into the pocket of his doublet. "What's that?" Gloucester inquired. "Oh, nothing," said Edmund. "Well, if it's nothing, why are you trying to hide it?" Gloucester said in an accent that's very difficult to pin down. "It's a letter from Edgar," Edmund admitted. "I hid it because I thought it would upset you." "Let me see it for myself." What was that?" said Edmund. I couldn't remember exactly how to speak. Anyway, let me try that again. "Let me see it for myself," Gloucester insisted in a perfect accent. Absolutely perfect. Great. Now my cousin who lives in Wales is watching, and here's me trying to do a Welsh accent. It's a different region from you, Jen. Okay. Edmund obediently handed his father the letter. "Father grows weaker and more foolish every day," Gloucester read aloud. "Why should we have to wait to enjoy what is rightfully ours? Join forces with me. We can get rid of the old man and share his fortune. Your brother Edgar." Shock turned Gloucester's face grey. How could my son have written this?" he mumbled. "But the handwriting looks like his." Lozzie's just said, "Imagine being called Goneril these days." I know. I do know somebody with a child called Regan, though. "Edgar must have meant it as a test or a joke," suggested Edmund. "I'll give him joke," snarled Gloucester. "I'll have him arrested and imprisoned." Be careful how you pronounce it. Trust me, when we read this at school, we weren't careful. We made it very clear what we thought. Anyway, keep that to yourselves. The Earl hurried off down a nearby corridor. When he was alone, Edmund chuckled. "I knew that forging your handwriting would prove useful, Edgar," he gloated. "My half-brother is too noble to suspect me of treachery, and my father will believe anything I tell him. Perfect. That will make it easy to take my revenge on them for all the years that they have ignored me." Now, instead of leaving Britain, Kent shaved off his hair and disguised himself as a poor man and managed to get a job as Lear's servant. You'd think you'd see through it. Before long, Kent noticed that all was not well. Goneril found fault with almost everything that Lear did, and he often lost his temper with her, suddenly flying into a ranting rage. One afternoon, Lear was in his private chamber chatting to his fool and Kent when Goneril and Albany came in. Goneril scowled at her father. "Why are you frowning, father?" Oh, let's try that one again. Ha! "Why are you frowning, daughter?" said Lear. Oh, here's the fool. "You didn't care about her frowns when you were king, nuncle," the fool observed. It doesn't say nuncle, but he says it all the time in the play. "Now I'm better than you. I'm a fool, but you are nothing." "I frown because your fool makes fun of me," said Goneril, "and because your knights do nothing but eat, drink, and quarrel with my servants. Since you refuse to do anything about this, I must deal with it myself. Half your knights will be sent away." Lear concealed his humiliation with sarcasm. "Do you know me?" he said to the fool and Kent. "I can't be Lear. Goneril, she would never speak to her father that way. No, but if I'm not Lear, who am I?" "Lear's shadow, nuncle," muttered the fool. I'm adding a nuncle to everything that he says. Lear looked up at the ceiling. "Gods, if Goneril has a child, let it be ungrateful and disobedient, so that she can feel what I am feeling," he cried. "I'll go to Regan when she hears how you've treated me. She will tear your face with her nails. Shouldn't encourage that thing in your kids. Come on. Lear stormed out of the chamber with the fool and Kent close behind. Albany glanced anxiously at his wife. Albany. What should we do? Albany. Oh, I was going to be Australian, wasn't I? Okay, so here we go. Is this wise? He said. Your father might make trouble between you and Regan. It's ancient Britain, so he might have been Australian. I sent her Regan a letter explaining what I intended to do. And she approved, replied Goneril. My father is no longer king. His tantrums are no more than the squalling of a brat. I love the fool. He sounds like Dobby. Yes, the nuncle. Albany said nothing with his Australian accent, but inside he was alarmed at how hard-hearted his wife had become. Regan and Cornwall were staying at Gloucester's guests. Accompanied by Kent and the fool, Lear rode to Gloucester's castle. They arrived at dusk. The sky was dark with clouds and distant thunder rumbled. To Lear's dismay, he was greeted by both Regan and Goneril. Gloucester, Edmund, as well as Gloucester, Edmund and Cornwall. Regan, how can you bear your sister's company after the way she has insulted me? Lear whined. She wants me to give up half my knights. Well, I don't see why you need any knights at all, Regan responded. If you stay with me, you must come alone. But I must have knights, spluttered Lear. I am king. You were king, Goneril corrected him. In the sudden glare of a lightning bolt, Lear saw his daughter's cruelty and coldness. The love they had once declared for him was a lie. The old man clutched the fool's arm for support. I'll go mad if I stay here, he gasped. The fool and Kent helped Lear remount his horse as a heavy rain began to fall. Where will you shelter, my lord? Gloucester called out. In a ditch for all I care, said Regan. A good soaking might bring him to his senses. Goneril laughed at this remark, and then she, Regan and Cornwall retreated into the castle. It's not natural for children to treat their father so heartlessly, said Gloucester. There's going to be trouble, Edmund. Albany and Cornwall. Here we go. Albany and Cornwall are bound to fight each other sooner or later. Gloucester lowered his voice. And besides that, I had a letter from Cordelia this morning. She means to rescue her father from her sisters. And a French army, how do you say army in Welsh? A French army, anyway, it's an army and it's French, has landed near Dover. If Cornwall knew about the letter, he would charge me with treason. Edmund smiled. Don't worry, father, he said. Cornwall will learn nothing from me. Outside an abandoned barn on the outskirts of Gloucester's land, Lear stood in the lashing rain, shaking his fists at the sky. He was in the grip of a peculiar madness that made him see truth more clearly than when he had been sane. It says, thunder and lightning, strike me down, he raved. I thought I was a king, but I am a feeble old man, so useless that my daughters don't want me. Kent emerged from the barn and led Lear inside, where the fool shivered by the small fire. Something moved in the shadows. Let me just check who's reading it. Something moved in the shadows. Who's there? Rasped Kent, reaching for his dagger. Poor Tom's a cold, a voice screeched, and a weird figure leapt into the light. It was Gloucester's son, Edgar. To escape arrest, he had dressed in rags and smeared his face with hair and mud. If anyone spoke to him, he pretended to be mad. The foul fiend is after me, Edgar whimpered.
Poor soul, exclaimed Lear. Did he give away everything to his daughters too?
It's not all about you, Lear, all right? Just then, Gloucester ducked into the barn, lantern in hand. When Edgar saw his father, he screamed and dashed out into the storm. I must speak with the king, Gloucester announced.
He wouldn't understand you, sir, Kent said grimly. He has been driven out of his mind. No wonder, when Goneril and Regan were plotting against him, said Gloucester. His life is in danger. Take him to Dover. Take him there, near Folkestone. The French king and his army, I can't say army, have landed there. Cordelia is with them.
I've lost that accent totally. Never mind, we're going to move on as if I'm getting it perfect. Sorry, I was just checking something, making sure the connection was fine. Gloucester. Oh, when he heard this news, Kent felt a glimmer of hope for Lear. Gloucester paid dearly for his loyalty to the old king. The moment he arrived back at his castle, he was seized and brought before Cornwall and Regan, who charged him with treason. Edmund had shown Cornwall the letter from Cordelia and had been rewarded with his father's title. Edmund. Yeah. Edmund's the bad one, Edgar is the good one. Yeah. And had been rewarded with his father's title. Encouraged by Regan, Cornwall tore out Gloucester's left eye. One of Cornwall's servants tried to stop the torture. He fought his master and was killed. Cornwall gouged out Gloucester's other eye, but the Duke had been seriously wounded. Shortly after Gloucester was turned out of his own home, Cornwall was dead. Sorry, I've read that whole bit. I got confused by it all because there are too many names. So, we're going to start that whole bit again. Encouraged by Regan, Cornwall tore out Gloucester's left eye. One of Cornwall's servants tried to stop the torture. He fought with his master and was killed. Cornwall then gouged out Gloucester's other eye. But the Duke had been seriously wounded. So the Duke of Cornwall had been seriously wounded. Shortly after Gloucester was turned out of his own home, Cornwall was dead. You might have got that, but my brain didn't get all of that, so I thought we'd best go over it. Gloucester spent the rest of the night wandering along country lanes before weariness overcame him, and he sank down to sleep in a hedgerow. He was still there the following morning when Edgar chanced upon him. 3 days later, in a meadow that overlooked Dover, Lear woke to see Cordelia smiling at him. All Lear's rage had been replaced by a childlike gentleness. At first he thought he was still asleep and dreaming, but at last he realized that Cordelia was real.
Forgive me, I am very old and forgetful. But aren't you my daughter?
He asked. I am, said Cordelia.
And I know you can't love me,
Lear said, frowning.
Your sisters hate me for no reason, but you have good reason to scorn me.
How could I scorn you? Cordelia said gently. You're my father. I love you just as a daughter should. Hey, that's what she said at the beginning. She had told him so in the throne room, and he had been furious. Now, Lear knew the value of her words, and he wept. Lear's happiness was short-lived. Cordelia's husband was forced to return to France. In his absence, the English struck. The forces of Albany and Cornwall joined to drive out the invaders. Regan and Goneril took part in the battle, and Edmund fought at Regan's side. Regan planned to marry him and did not know that Edmund had also won Goneril's affection. He had written to her in secret, offering to marry her after she had got rid of Albany. Edmund had cleverly set the two sisters against one another. The French were defeated and took ship for France. Lear and Cordelia were captured and sent to Edmund. Imprison them and keep a close watch on them until their fates have been decided, Edmund told the captain of the guard. Lear was delighted.
We'll be like two birds in a cage, he said to Cordelia. We'll tell tales of the foolishness of kings.
Edmund leaned close to the captain. Take this paper, carry out the order written on it, and you will be rewarded, he promised in a whisper. An hour later, the victors gathered. Goneril gave Edmund a lingering look. Regan's face was ashen. She kept clutching her stomach. Goneril had poured poison into her sister's wine the previous night, and it had begun to work. Albany was angry. Albany, have we had him? Oh, he was Australian, wasn't he? Where are the royal prisoners, Edmund? He demanded. I ordered them to be taken away, said Edmund. Where are we? Hold on. I ordered them to be taken away, said Edmund. You had no right to give orders. I am in command here, Albany growled. Guards, fetch the prisoners. As the guards marched off, Regan moaned. I am sick, and sank to her knees. Albany ordered 2 soldiers to carry Regan to her tent. Then he turned to Edmund. Now the battle is over, I can turn to other matters, he said. I know that you have been sending letters to my wife, Edmund, you filthy traitor. Edmund flung one of his gauntlets at Albany's feet. Nobody calls me a traitor unless he's willing to fight me to the death, he cried. Hold on, let me find out who this is. Trying to find out who it is. I need to look ahead because I don't know. Bum 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 bum. Let's presume it's him. Right, his face was hidden. Right, someone knows you're a liar, stranger said. Blah blah blah. We're gonna get there. It is Edgar. Yeah, I thought it was. All right, just checking. I will fight him, Lord Albany, someone said in a voice very similar to his brother's. And an armed stranger stepped forward. His face was hidden under the visor as his helmet. That's why I didn't know who it was, because his face was hidden. A surprise coming up in the story. Who are you? Edmund sneered. Someone who knows you're a cheat and a liar, the stranger said. Edmund drew his sword and ran at the mysterious opponent. The fight was brutal and brief. After exchanging several blows, Edmund stumbled as he tried to trip up the stranger. He dropped his guard, and the edge of the stranger's sword bit deep into his side. Edmund fell. Save him, shouted Goneril. She made a move towards Edmund, but Albany held her back. Well, that bloke got what he deserved, said Albany. And so will you, Goneril. I know you were planning to kill me, so I'm going to put you on trial for it. Stand trial like a common criminal? Never, screeched Goneril. She broke from her husband's grasp and rushed away before anyone could stop her. The stranger removed his helmet so that the dying Edmund could see him. Edgar, croaked Edmund. Father died of a broken heart because you betrayed him, Edgar said. Now he is avenged. A messenger scurried up to Albany. Your wife is dead, my lord, he panted. She stabbed herself, and Sister Regan died at the same instant. It was a very matter-of-fact messenger. A terrible cry rang out. Everybody turned their heads and saw Lear approaching, carrying Cordelia's dead body in his arms. Kent trailed behind. Why aren't you all howling in misery? Sobbed Lear. Don't you understand? She's dead. She'll never come back. He laid Cordelia down, crouched at her side, and rocked himself back and forth. Why should a dog or a rat have life and you not? He whimpered. Albany was appalled. How did this happen? He asked Kent.
Edmund ordered Cordelia to be strangled. Kent explained. They hanged the fool too. It's a gruesome picture here. Look of them hanging the fool. They hanged the fool too. Lear pointed at Cordelia. Look, he urged. She is breathing. She has come back to life. No one could bring himself to say that the old man's eyes were playing tricks with him. Lear's weary heart stopped beating, and he collapsed on Cordelia's body. The old have suffered most, Albany said quietly. I hope I won't have to suffer when I'm old. Though nobody spoke, all who heard him, shared the same hope. That is a deep book. The themes in that, like evil has its own comeuppance. That pride comes before a fall, I suppose. All of that pride from, if Lear hadn't been so prideful at the beginning, just wanting to hear flattery, he may well have survived. It might have all been okay because they just split the country three ways. The wars might not have happened because Cordelia would have been there as a tempering force between the two sisters. And then there's the brothers with all of the bitterness between them. And, maybe there's a bit of understandable bitterness being sidelined, but not enough to betray and lead to heartbreak and death. And there's a lot of betrayal. The betrayal doesn't work for anyone. Everyone that betrays gets paid. Albany seems to get away with it okay. I can't remember who ends up basically going to be king at the end because I haven't read it in over 20 years. But I think it's either Albany, I think it might be Kent that ends up becoming king at the end, but I could be wrong. It might not even mention it. Yes, Jessica has just said, isn't hindsight a good thing? Hey, King Lear. Well, that's exactly it, isn't it? Like at the end, he's like, oh, now I realise. And you're like, yeah, but mate, if you'd realised at the beginning, maybe you'd have been able to just hang out with your family. And also, think about it, it was him hanging out with all of his knights and his pride. He had to have his knights, he had to have his title, had to go from place to place, being treated wonderfully, bankrupting his daughters. If there'd been three of them, they could have shared the thing. But, Anyway, absolute top quality. Love that play, love that story. Lozzie has said, I love this book, possibly my favourite. I think it's between that and Othello I really enjoyed. Let's have a look. I really liked Othello. I think, was it Much Ado About Nothing I thought was good? Merchant of Venice. We had basically had three plays in a row that were really good. And I think it was them. I really enjoyed those ones. But yeah, nothing's stopped this one being my favourite. So thank you, Shakespeare, for giving us Lear. At some point, we will. I will look up and find out more about whether there's any historical basis for it. If it's loosely based on one king. And now I'm going to do something very sad. See my book box here. What I normally do is get out the next book, but we don't have another book to get out. I'm just putting the book away. And I'll probably put these books on eBay or something because I won't read them again. There we go. Or maybe I'll auction them off. I should auction them off. We will auction these off. That's a great idea, Duncan. I'm going to auction this box of books off. I don't know how much it's worth. It says on the bottom it's worth £79.84. Well, not if you go to the book people where I probably got it for about 20 quid. Anyway, there we go. That's it. Think Shakespeare should always be read and acted with all the accents. Well, I think normally it's done by lots of different people. But I'd like to be interesting, wouldn't it, to get Shakespeare and do it on the radio, because I can't act very well with my body and my face. But I quite like doing voices. So if you know anyone that'll give me a job doing... I know that I kept trying to look up stuff about Richard II for reasons that will not interest you. I kept trying to find out more about Richard II and I couldn't. I didn't know much about him, but something I know is that there's been loads of Richard II performances because Shakespeare actually did a play of Richard II, which I didn't know. So I've never read it. It's not in this box of 16. He wrote twice as many plays, I think. But there we go. Right, guys, that has been Shakespeare Sunday. I will not be here next Sunday. And when I do come back with this, look how beautiful this book is. Look how lovely it is. Complete Dickens, all the novels retold. 11 novels that I bought online. And you will love this.
at the beginning of each book, it's got characters so I can do accents. The only thing that's going to be tricky is it starts with Oliver Twist, and I think I will just work through this book, book by book, story by story. But I'm looking forward to that. What the Dickens? I think it might not be here till August. We'll see. But yes, thank you, guys. Honestly, there's a bunch of you that have been at, I reckon, every single Shakespeare Sunday. And I don't know if you know how much it means to me, but the answer is a lot, like so much. It has meant the world to have you guys, to have someone to read these. I'd have been doing them anyway. I'd have done them to nobody. But to have you folks here and the same faces each time and all your lovely comments and your funny accent suggestions and everything that you've done, it has been an absolute pleasure. Now, obviously, isn't it a goodbye for me? I'm here first thing in the morning anyway with Toddler Tune Time, although some of you are at school. Toddler or doing your home learning. Toddler Tune Time at 10:30. You're more than welcome to join me for that. And then the following day at 10:30 as well. I think I've got my weeks right, haven't I? Do stick around. Make sure you've subscribed to all of my channels and stuff. I think everyone that's watching probably already has. I don't know what to say. Just thank you. Thank you so much. I've got some thank yous here. You guys are all saying thank you to me. But if it wasn't for you, it would just been me reading to myself. So thank you. Tamsin says, we love all the Shakespeare Sundays and all the live streams. Well, you're very, very kind. I'm going to go. I've got spaghetti bolognese about to be cooked by me. I will hang up right now. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. I'll hopefully see some of you guys at 10:30 in the morning. Just join me. Whatever it is we do, join me. And when What the Dickens comes back, let's have a bit of fun with that together. Okay, here we go. We are going off in 3, 2, 1. There's just the picture. It says there, thank you for joining me for Shakespeare Sunday for the last 15 weeks. This was the 16th one. You're amazing. Don't miss all of these things coming up. Do make sure you subscribe to everything and stay in touch and take care, everybody. Now's my time for saying goodbye. Bye-bye, one and all. Love you. Bye.